Hi everyone, my name is Jess and this is my channel Little by Piku, and it's fantastic to be back. So if you're wondering where I've been for the past month, well, unless you've watched my previous videos where I've been talking about going on holiday, I've been on holiday. So I was overseas in Europe for about 3.5 weeks and we got back to New Zealand last week on Saturday. So it's been back for a full week now, which has been great to just get back into routine and back into life, and thought it was about time I filmed a Flosstube and updated you all on my whereabouts for the last month. So welcome to all my new subscribers. If you have joined on since my last video, would love to know where you've found me from, or if someone else has given me a shout out, so please do leave me some details below in the comments. If you're an existing watcher, thanks for being back. I've got quite a bit to cover today, so I do have some notes down next to me because I've got a little bit to go over, but to summarize, I've got 3 finishes. So 2 finishes, all 3 projects I started before I went on holiday, so they're all my holiday projects. 2 I finished while overseas, and the last one I finished today. And then I've got 2 work in progress whips to go over. I've got a giveaway coming up, so it's something that my mum has handmade to give away to one of my viewers, available for anyone wherever you are in the world, so stay tuned for that. And then I also have some upcoming starts and some ideas for a bit of a start along or a stitch along, so I would love for you to join in if those patterns take interest. And then last, I've got a little bit of haul of some Fox and Rabbit fabric that I've recently received. So a little bit to go over, but let's get into it. I won't jump into all the details of my holiday. It's not that kind of video. I will sort of discuss a little bit of what I stitched where and when. So if you've got any questions, we traveled to, we went to Bologna for a couple of nights, and then we went up to Verona and stayed in an agriturismo, which is like a farmhouse in Italy with some family and friends. Then we went to Venice for a couple of nights. We then took the train, which was an interesting experience, down to Ancona and took the overnight ferry across to Split in Croatia. And then we went to Hvar, Korčula, and then we ended up in Dubrovnik. So had about a week in Croatia all up. And then we flew from Dubrovnik to Warsaw in Poland. And then we traveled down to a friend's wedding in Spawa. And then we went from there down to Krakow and had another 4 days there before flying back to New Zealand. So saying like that, it sounds like a real whirlwind, and even now it feels like a really long distant memory. So I must get some photos developed and get them up on the walls in the house to remember our trip, it was a fantastic break, but it's also good to be home. So finishes. So this was a design that I started on the plane. And if you've been looking at my Instagram, I did post throughout my holidays some updates on my stitching and a little bit more of holiday stuff. But this is Yellow Submarine by Blackbird Designs, which I have finished. So this one here I stitched in the called for gentle art threads, and it was on a 32 count blue spruce linen. And I'm really happy with how it turned out. I had seen on the Blackbird, I think their Facebook group, there was a few comments of people that use the DMC for the submarine, and a lot of people said use the gentle art threads because it really gives that vibrant yellow, and I think it looks fantastic. So I finished this today we had a local stitching group meet up, so I got that all completed, and now it's just a case of getting it fully finished, which I will do. My plan is to frame it, and then I have a yellow submarine Lego set. So I thought it looked quite nice on the shelf downstairs with that. So I'll be sure to share that once it's done, maybe whether I can get this framed in the next few weeks. But yeah, my first ever Blackbird Designs piece, and my first piece using all variegated threads. So very cool, love it. So there's that one there. So yeah, the submarine I stitched while on the plane, which I thought was kind of ironic. I did the whole submarine on the first flight across to Bologna. So there's a flight from here to Singapore, and then Singapore to, Frankfurt, and then Frankfurt to Bologna. So I think the first flight was about 12 hours, which I did, I think most of the submarine in that 12 hours time. And then the next flight, I think I slept. So yeah, it's a good way to kind of keep going. It's kind of hard to sit still for 12 hours, but this definitely keeps you occupied while you're watching movies and whatnot. So that was my first finish. My second finish was my first modern folk embroidery piece. So it's a small piece. I didn't jump into one of his beautiful stitch along year-long projects and get that done on a trip away, but I finished this one here. So this one here is the, I think it's called the Small Christmas Sampler. So my last video, I was questioning whether or not to use the DMC Pearl Cotton size 8 thread, but I decided to go ahead with it. This is a 28 count vintage country mocha fabric. So I use a thread, the color is 115, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. This piece was really nice to stitch. I stitched this by the swimming pool. I stitched this in rooms with sort of low lighting because it wasn't, you know, the 28 count makes it a little bit easier to stitch when the lighting's not great, which I've yet to find a hotel room that has good lighting. And then I stitched this on sort of our shorter flights in the airport. We had a very anxious wait. Our flight was about 2 hours delayed from Dubrovnik to Warsaw, so much so that we got to the airport to get on the plane, and the plane hadn't actually left Warsaw to come to Dubrovnik, let alone fly back. And so I think we didn't get to Warsaw until like 2:30 a.m, which that was the only sort of really stressful flight, because if we missed, we were flying on the Friday night and the wedding was on Saturday, so we got to the wedding sort of just in time. But it all worked out in the end now. But this was a good distraction, one at the airport, to stitch some of this. It's a variegated thread, so kind of how I worked it, the bottom part there, I kind of just went, kind of try to keep the colours together. Then I kind of, with this part up here, I kind of stitch each bit. I think for the little deer, I stitched kind of just going across in one colour, so like up, down, up, down, up, down. And then the tree, I went kind of horizontally up, if that makes sense. And then this section all up here, I just went up, down, up, down. I didn't bother for this part up here doing each cross at a time because it was more just a bit more speed stitching, I suppose, to go all the way up and all the way down, and you still get that kind of variegation sort of stripy effect. But I'm really happy with that. So this one is probably also going to be framed, or whether to make, I was thinking whether even to make it into like a little mat to go on one of our little tables at Christmas time. So just deciding what to do with that, but I'm really happy with how that turned out. And then my last project I did on holiday, so I think it was about the day before I left, I saw that there was a group of some of my sort of favorite, you know, Flosstubers that I watched their videos as soon as they're released, which is Stitches with Charlie Feathers, Yasmin's Made with Love, and Crafty Yams. They were organising a stitch along of Alicia Paulson's design called Stitches RSVP, which is this one. So this one here, it's got a great quote saying, "Listen, I still want to be invited, but I'm not coming," which is a very introvert type attitude, and I love it. So this one here, I stitched the, like this designs as called for, but I did switch some of the colours around. I used a 32 count merino lilac, which is actually my first ever time using even weave. And I really enjoyed it because you just, I mean, I love stitching on linen as well, and Ada. I guess even weave's that nice in between where you still get sort of really straight, simple lines, and you don't get the sort of the slubs and the naturalness of the linen, but makes it for stitching quite straightforward. This one I stitched a lot on train, plane, in the evenings. Yeah, I stitched this one. We had I don't talk about the stressful parts of travel, but catching a train from Venice to Ancona to then catch the boat to Split. The train was about 2 hours delayed. So it resulted in, once we got to Ancona, I think I agreed to pay, I think we paid €15 for like literally a 2 kilometre ride to the ferry station to then get our tickets to get on the boat in time. Because again, if we missed that boat, there wasn't another boat for another few days. It would have changed our whole, you know, our Croatia time would have been shortened, and it felt a little bit like The Amazing Race. So I think I took out a lot of my stress and anxiety on that poor, I think it was a cat in the spool. So yeah, I guess it's nice to have these pieces maybe to look back on, to not think about the difficulties of traveling internationally with COVID and everything else, but to, you know, it's still a nice memory of the trip. This one, it was my first time with the lettering stitching 1/1, which was an experience in itself. The tricky thing is I was stitching this in hand, so I do kind of a sewing stitch, which just makes, you know, it's a lot faster to stitch itself. With 1/1, when I was doing so, the thread was sort of slipping behind the threads in the fabric. So if anyone's got any tips and tricks on how to do that, that would be appreciated. But otherwise, I just kind of put my needle through, pulled it back out, back and forth, which worked fine. It was just a little bit slower. But to be fair, I don't think I'm a 1/1 stitcher, so it's probably not going to be a lot of stitching unless it calls for it in a design like this. But yeah, so this one, I'm not quite sure what to do with it now, whether again to frame it or whether, yeah, maybe I'll make a pillow. I haven't made a pillow for a while. So I do have some ideas for some finishing coming up, so I do need to get onto that, and then hopefully I'll have some fully finished objects for you in a future video. So those are my 3 finishes. That was, yeah, all 3 projects I took overseas with me, so I'm glad I got majority of those done. Didn't have a whole lot of stitching time. I didn't spend my evenings sitting there stitching. It was either, yeah, I mean, I guess most of the evenings were spent outside in the heat. You know, it was nice 35 degrees Celsius days, a lot of food, a little bit of drink, but yeah, just, you know, but I guess I did do some stitching. I'm trying to think now, mainly in the afternoons if I had time to sort of reprieve back to the hotel room and enjoy the air conditioning, and then do some stitching then, which was nice. But now coming up to what I've got planned next. So the only other whip, I think I worked on this before I went away, so just a few days leading up to from my last video until actually going away, was the Grease Surma Street pattern. I'm actually trying to think now if I did work on it, so I'm going to put a picture here of where I was at in my last video, and if I'm showing you the exact same stitching as then just humour me. But this is where I'm at now. So I think I've got another building in since my last time I showed this, but I've got a pretty, I don't think I've got too much left to go. In our local New Zealand Facebook stitching group, we've got a challenge coming up this coming week. So today I'm filming this sort of Saturday afternoon. We have a challenge starting Monday to Sunday next week, where the plan is to stitch on the same project for the whole week and to share like an update photo at the start and an update photo at the end of the week. So I'm leaning towards stitching on this because I'm thinking, I mean, I'm not sure whether I could get it finished, but I think I could get it pretty close to getting a few of the other buildings in over the next week. So that's the plan going forward. And then I can kit up the next city, which is the Seattle, which is the last one I haven't done. And then I'm going to need to reorganize my wall to fit these 2 in. But yeah, that's on the plans coming up and what I've been working on. Then the other whip that I've been working on, and I put some details on my Instagram page a few weeks ago. So while I was away, one of my all-time favorite designers, which is, and I really hope I'm pronouncing this correctly, Kyoko Maruka, who is a designer under the name Gera. She is a Japanese designer. She designs the most whimsical, amazing patterns. Majority available now on Creative Poppy website as PDFs. I've got like a few of her sort of finished designs here, so like the turnip. My other favorite one of hers recently, which I think is called Good Night, which is this one. I'm trying to get the like really beautiful yeah, motifs, and yeah, just stunning designs, and the way she does things is just amazing. She also is the designer of the needle book I showed in my last video with the little Bo Peep and Little Boy Blue. So she's had a couple of designs that she did for a Japanese company called Crafting, I think it says Crafting Japan, or Craft, their website is it's all in Japanese, so you have to kind of rely on your phones or your browser's translation services. But from what I can see from their website, they sell kits, and then they sell kind of lessons attached to those, and then you can also ask questions. So they do like some cross-stitching kits, a lot of what appears to be like embroidery and other sort of like small handcraft projects. So she's done a few designs for them over the years. One of the designs is called Afternoon of a Faun, and I'll put a picture here of the piece of work. This is a design that I've had my eye on since it was released, and I'm trying to think now, I mean, it must be quite a few years ago, I think I first saw it online, and I really wanted to stitch it. It's been on my like a unicorn of things I want to stitch. But they only sold the kits, and then the kits they only sold to ship to Japanese addresses, so it would have been a case of trying to organize like freight forwarding from Japan to New Zealand and the costs and everything involved. And I thought, well, there's plenty of her other amazing designs that I can get as PDFs from Creative Poppy, so I'll just work my way through her set on there. And then I've asked Crafting Japan multiple times, not getting a lot of responses about whether they'll sell a PDF pattern. And then I've asked Gyoko many times whether she knows if the PDF's available, and I was messaging her maybe about 2 months ago, and she said to keep my eye out in the next sort of few months. So I was like, ooh, maybe something's changing. But they released, so she's done 3 designs for them in the last few years, and those designs have now all been released with the option of downloading just the PDF, and then you can have it shipped as a PDF, email address, to anywhere in the world. So when I saw that, I was like, jumped on it, and I got all 3 of the designs. So the first one I'll show you now that I'm working on at the moment is Afternoon of a Faun, which is that unicorn piece, and it does actually have a unicorn in it. So that's kind of appropriate. It's based on, the story is sort of based originally on a French poem from the late 1800s about a faun, which is a half man, half goat, who spends his time, I think, pursuing nymphs in the forest and playing his pan flute. And then there's been a ballet done on it based on some music done Debussy, a French, I think, composer, called Prelude to the Afternoon of the Faun, which I was listening to it again yesterday, and I did play the flute growing up throughout high school, and I'm 99% sure that I've played part of the flute solo before in that piece. So this is where I'm at now. So I have started on the bottom of the design itself, so I'm looking kind of from the bottom right corner. So I've got the tree completed with the peacock in it, what I believe I'm going to say is like a little lamb, and then I wasn't sure if it's a deer. My partner said maybe it's a moose, but I think it's a deer. And then I'm just starting to work on here now, which is the base of the kind of podium type thing that the faun is sitting on. So my plan is to kind of work on the bottom and then work up. I love it. I'm using the cord 4 threads, the DMC threads. And then I had picked out some fabric that I was going to use. But then a local store around here is, unfortunately, they're closing their physical store. I think they're going online, and they were having a sale on some Fox and Rabbit fabric. So I jumped on that, and I managed to get a piece of 32 count eucalyptus. So I'll just show you the full. So this is, I got a, I don't know, fat quarter sort of size, I think 40 by 70 centimeters or so, 50 by 70. This is half of it. So it's this beautiful variegated, it's hard to tell if that's the right color, bluey with a green sort of undertone fabric. In their fabric, so I'll run through some of their fabrics shortly, but it's my first time using Fox and Rabbit fabric, and they just have the most sort of beautiful soft variegation to them. But this is a full piece, and it pretty much will fill most of this piece. So I think I'm going to be working on this design for a while, but even when I finished this might sound silly, but even when I finished the peacock and the tree, and then I was like, oh, I'm already sad that part's over. Does anyone else get that way, where you're like, oh, it's already coming to an end? And then I looked at the design, I was like, oh yeah, still got a wee way to go. So I'll be working on this for, I don't know, however long it takes. You know, I don't have a whole lot of whips on the go, as you know, so I probably will get this finished somewhat soon. So I love it. And I've had a few people reach out on Instagram about wanting to join in. So I am doing a stitch along hashtag for this as well if you want to join. The hashtag will be here, which is, I'm going to call it Afternoon Delight, SAL. I think that's somewhat appropriate with the kind of theme of the poem. It's a little bit of fun. So if you're keen to join in, yeah, let me know. Feel free to drop me a comment below, or send me a message on Instagram, or comment on one of my posts. Would love to see your stitching as well. And if you need like any help whatsoever with the process to download from or to buy it from Crafting Japan, then let me know. Happy to help out with any translation type tips. A really good, just if you're looking at like anything online, like traveling or anything as different languages, is the Google Translate app on your phone. One thing you can do, which is really cool, is you can take like a screenshot of text from a website. You can go into the app, and if you go like Japanese to English, if you click on the little camera, you can upload a picture and you can upload that screenshot picture and it will translate any text in Japanese to English, which is like really handy as well for Instagram. If you're looking at, you know, another person's account on Instagram and you want to sort of read the text they've written, then you can do the same thing, because Instagram does have a translate feature, but I find it doesn't translate all the comments and details, but it's a really easy way to translate from Japanese to English, and it's worth doing so, because some of the translations, when they translate across, it's just like really cute how the words change over. I think when people say in Japanese how they're doing cross-stitching, it kind of refers into English as like a little bit of stabbing and things like that. It's just kind of it's just really, yeah, quite fun to read them, but it's a really nice, easy way to then be able to you know, comment and interact with others on Instagram as well that are Japanese, or, you know, use language, and to kind of understand what they're saying and how they're describing the designs as well. I know there's one other Instagrammer who's one other cross-stitcher in Japan who's on Instagram who's stitching this at the moment. So yeah, it's been really cool. Been following her sort of work over the last, you know, month or so, and being like, I want to stitch that, and now I am. So I'm really happy with that. Then next, I've got a pile on the floor here. So I thought next I would show you a project, or another whip, which I suppose is a whip. So I've been working on this since I was, I think, the age 10. So that's going like over 20 years ago now, which is a bit scary. This is, and thanks to someone on Facebook this morning, I've got the name of the design because I don't have the pattern at the moment. It is by Bent Creek Designs and it's called All in a Row. And this is it. So it's an alphabet pattern. So I started this, my mum found it just recently. I started it when I was, I think about, my memory says like 10 years old. I think the design was released in 95. It's an alphabet pattern. I've got as far as the K in the moon, and then I didn't continue. And the thing I do love is that it was obviously folded with a needle in it, because you can see there's some rust marks on the Ada. And I probably think this is like 14 count. But the thing that makes me is like, not that the backs of your stitching matter whatsoever, but it's like surprisingly neat, I think, for a young stitcher. So I'm quite happy with that. So my mum's going to see whether she can find the pattern somewhere at home, if it's around somewhere. I have seen it still available online in the US in a couple of shops, but it's just when you go to ship it to New Zealand, the shipping's 3 times the price of the pattern itself. So got to see whether I can maybe get it locally, whether by any chance if the designer would send me a PDF copy, or whether otherwise I just wait and build up a few other designs from the upcoming expo and get them all sent across at the same time. But yeah, an old whip. And then I'm not sure, yeah, like, do I want to finish it? We were discussing today in our stitching group, do I just sort of finish it, you know, what I can where it is? Do I sort of just chart the rest and do something different for the rest of it? Do I then just turn it into like a drum, or, you know, like, or do I just leave it as is and put it in a drawer to be found in another, I don't know, 20 years time, and then decide then what to do with it? So yeah, love to hear if any of you have, you know, started stitching, well, however long you started stitching and found some of your first projects, and then, you know, first, I guess, unfinished projects, and what you've decided to do with them. But I mean, given this is over 20 years old, it's in pretty good condition, apart from the rust marks, which might come out. Otherwise, again, kind of just leave it as is. It kind of, to me, I guess if I framed it, probably avoid the rust marks, but it kind of adds maybe a bit to the charm or to the piece's history. So yeah, it's pretty cool. But yeah, so, you know, mum's been busy, I guess, while I've been away cleaning out her craft room and finding things like this. But she's also been quite busy making project bags. She loves doing her quilting and everything else, and I wanted to do a wig giveaway. So to say thank you to all of those that have subscribed to the channel, that have left beautiful comments, likes, that have shared and shouted out my channel to others, that have engaged on Instagram and had some really, really good conversations and connected with some, amazing stitchers around the world. I'd like to do a little bit of a giveaway to say thank you for that. So this giveaway, it's available to anyone wherever you are in the world. I'm happy to ship it wherever. Depending on where you live and how much the parcel weighs, then I might also include some New Zealand lollies or sweets they might be referred to in your country. If you've heard of like jet planes, pineapple umps, explorers, party mix, those kind of lollies. I think chocolate, New Zealand does some beautiful chocolate, but I think that's just going to result in a really melted mess, which wouldn't be ideal for this. But yeah, so happy to send it anywhere. The rules are to be over the age of 18, so you can legally give me your address. And if you can please subscribe, leave a like and leave a comment with the keyword below. So this is what the giveaway is. It's a project bag. So this is a project bag made out of fabrics with New Zealand birds on it. So if you like birds, which who doesn't like birds, and if you like New Zealand birds, this is one for you. So we've got sort of a, oh, let me see if I can think of the names at the top of my head. A kurero, a wood pigeon, a kia, what have we got? Pukeko, a kiwi, a tui, and a piwaka waka. So like a fantail, yeah, a native wood pigeon. Pukeko are these beautiful bluebirds that kind of hang out by the side of the road. A little bit of a nuisance, but they are stunning. Yeah, it's pretty cool. So, and then you've got these little like piwaka waka fantails at the top, and then the back of it has got the sort of the purakawa type plant, which is this beautiful red floral tree that flowers at summertime. So if you look up purakawa, it's like, to me, it's like summer all over, beautiful, and it's Christmas because it's that red and green, and it's Christmas time and it's summer and it's amazing. And then we've got the birds on the back there as well. So Mum, how she does hers, so it's got vinyl front. She's done quilting around the birds on the inside, and she does her hand stitch binding. So hopefully this might take your fancy if you're, I mean, it's a pretty large size. I think I just took the sticker off that had the size on it. But yeah, I mean, I think you could fit any project in there and it would look amazing. So if this takes your fancy and you'd like to be in to win, as I said before, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment below using the keyword bird. So as long as somewhere in your comment it has the word bird in it. Would also, I guess, as part of just like to hear from you about how, if you know how you found my channel, but also just to kind of hear what you're stitching at the moment, or whether anything that I'm stitching is something that you'd like to join in with as well. But otherwise, I will draw a winner for this from those that leave the keyword bird in my next video, so probably 2 to 3 weeks time. And then I'll be sending this off to the winner with potentially filled with some lollies or sweets, because I know that in the UK, lollies is an ice lolly, like an ice block or an ice cream. So I always got caught up on that from my partner who's Scottish, when I refer to things as lollies, but now that he's in New Zealand, he knows that we call sweets lollies, and it all makes sense. But I'm not sending ice lollies, just to clarify, because it would also become a real mess. But yeah, thank you. And thank you especially to Mum for making this. She has made quite a few, and I've listed a few for sale in our New Zealand Facebook stitching group yesterday, and sold quite a few of her project bags. So anyone else that's interested, she has said she does have more fabric. So if this takes your fancy, and if you're not lucky enough to win it, but would be keen to maybe buy one of these, probably ideally in that case, like shipping overseas is quite expensive, but do let me know via Instagram, and I can see definitely what I can do, because when I told her she sold 4 project bags yesterday, she was astounded and amazed, but she does beautiful work, so she shouldn't be surprised. So thank you, Mum. All right, so that, and then I've got, all right, what else? So plans. So I've decided that so as I said before, the Kyoko has released, so there's 3 designs that have released from the Crafting Japan website, and I decided that a stitch along for one of them is not enough, and I want to start all 3. So I've only really got, I think otherwise, so I've got the Grease one on the go, the Afternoon Delight, Afternoon of Faun, and I've got my, what's the other one called? Oh goodness, the Una Buena Pesa Haunted Garden design that I've been working on. So those are my only 3 SALs, so I mean whips at the moment. So I've definitely got capacity to take on a few more. So there's two others that I'm going to be starting soon. One is Swan Lake, and because these are all PDFs, I'll put a picture of it here. And again, it's beautiful, kind of reminds me a lot of the Good Night that I showed earlier with the swan in it. This one I think I've already decided I'm going to stitch on the same linen as the I'm Not Invited piece, because I think it will look really nice on like a soft lilac-y type purple. Might see otherwise whether I can get something hand dyed for it, but yeah, looking forward to, probably will start this one. Well, I can't in the next week because I've agreed to that challenge now, which was silly in hindsight, but I think I'll start this probably in the next 2 or 3 weeks. And then the other one that I'm going to be starting is this one here. So this is Romeo and Juliet. So this one, we're planning to start it as a stitch along on the 1st of September. So for anyone that would like to join in, then please, yeah, do let me know. The hashtag for, I think the hashtag for the Swan Lake one will just be maybe Swan Lake SAL if it's not already taken. I'll post the details here, and I'll put the details in the description below. And then I think the other one I checked, and I think we'll just go with Romeo and Juliet SAL, because that doesn't appear to have any other existing SALs on Instagram. So that one there, I'm just trying to decide what color fabric to do it on. I've got a few options at the moment. A few of the upcoming sort of Fox and Rabbit fabrics I showed might be a good color, but I need to get a different stitch count. But those are the two that I've got planned to definite start in the next few weeks. So I would love for you to join in. Again, let me know if you've got any issues with translating, but otherwise let me know if you're joining in, and yeah, love to see your work on those two pieces as well. Romeo and Juliet, we did manage to go to Verona when we were in, well, we were in Verona, but we were staying kind of like in a small farming, not a small farming town, but like a small village town outside of Verona itself. Verona was like a 25-minute drive away. So we did go on there. I dragged my partner and his sister and husband and 2 nieces into Verona. It was like 36 degrees. It was really hot, just so I could go see Juliet's balcony and we could have a look around the town. But we hustled in. I'll put a photo here of Juliet's balcony, and then I'll put another photo of the reality of all the crowds and people. So yeah, you can't travel anywhere overseas without a crowd, but I've learned you can very carefully take your photos kind of looking upwards if that's what you're trying to photograph, and try and like avoid everyone else's heads in the photo itself. But otherwise, Verona was a really cool city. Definitely would probably like to go back one day and check it out properly. It was so hot, and then there's a lot of marble and stone, and everything was reflecting the heat. And we've got, you know, two younger children with us as well, so we kind of had a walk around, took some photos, and then found some gelato, which was the main part of my diet for the holiday, was gelato. And then we yeah, escaped back to the agritourismo we were staying at and jumped in the swimming pool. So but yeah, so it was really cool to see the actual balcony that inspired Romeo and Juliet itself and that piece and that part of the story. And I'm looking forward to stitching this come the 1st of September and those joining in. But otherwise, sort of lastly, I've got to finish. I've got a little bit of a haul. My haul kind of plan was a little bit, I have got more fabric that I've purchased that I haven't received. So over the last month and a half or so, I've been doing quite a bit of online shopping from some UK stores. And I had a whole lot of fabrics and patterns sent to my one of my good friends in London. She was then going to fly to Krakow to meet us there and have a few days with us and bring my fabric across. But unfortunately, yeah, she got unwell with COVID, so she couldn't fly out, which was, we found out the night before she was at leave. So that was that was disappointing, but yeah, she's healthy and well and everything else. And then, so therefore now she's going to send the fabric to me in New Zealand. So I'm not sure if she sent it yet, but yeah, that will probably maybe take a week or two once she does send it. So in the meantime, this week I thought I had to do some online shopping to, you know, because my excuses were it was rainy, it was cold, it was my first week back at work, and yeah, of course I deserved it. And then there's, yeah, the shop I said before, there's a shop in the South Island in New Zealand, which I think are closing their physical store and going online, and they had a pretty good discount, they might still do, on some Fox and Rabbit linens that they have in stock. So I bought, there were I think 6 colours, six fabrics I had in 6 different colours, each have the set count, and I bought a piece of each. So I bought the eucalyptus, which I've already started using, and then the others I thought I'd just show you, because I know that buying fabric online, it's really hard to get the colour right, and I definitely in this video, the colour's not, it's hard to get the colour right on the screen as to what I'm seeing in front of me. I'm filming this video later in the day today. There's still quite a lot of daylight. I don't have any other sort of like ring lamps or anything like that on, but hopefully these sort of show as they're supposed to show. And I apologise for a bit of crinkling because there's some plastic here. This one here I bought, so the next one I bought was Hogbristle, which I got this one in a 36 count linen. So I'm not sure, maybe if I fold that in half just so it's not as, so it's a beautiful natural, kind of a real browny, creamy tan type colour, I would say. Yeah, very slight variegation, but a really good, I know there's a lot of popular base for a lot of samplers, and just a lot of it is a neutral piece. So I'm looking forward to using that one. The next one I got was a 32 count Ballet Slippers, which is this one here, which I'll just, that one, it's a really light pink, as you'd imagine ballet slippers would be. I'll just fold that way. If you can kind of get this slightly pinky, peachy type, not peachy, pinky type tinge to it. So not sure what I stitched this one on. I was thinking whether the Swan Lake design, but I think I want to go more of a purpley colour than a pink. The next one I got was, this is a 36 count linen called Fossil, which is one of their popular sort of darker colours. I'll just fold that in half again so you can kind of see it. It's got a really slight variegated, it's like a really nice, beautiful deep grey with maybe like a sort of light, and then the kind of variegation tones running through it are almost like a bit of a bluish grey tinge. If you can kind of see that there. This one here, I know I've already seen that, I think Kathy Barrick is releasing some designs coming up. I think maybe they're going to be, she's put some sneak peeks and they're going to be released for, I think, Expo and some kind of like Halloween designs, and I thought that would be perfect for those. And then I have got, this one is 36 count baked clay. So it's much more of a deeper tan type colour. If that's kind of showing. But yeah, it's got a very slight dark sort of variation through it, but variegation, so it's beautiful. And then the last one I bought was one of their popular colours, which is Eureka, and this is a 32 count linen. It is quite a kind of like a yellowy base. So that one there, again, I know this is quite popular, it's one of the most popular sort of neutrals. So yeah, I haven't, well, I've got some plans. I've got Stacey Nash, I don't know if I've shown it before, probably have rabbit cord primrose that I think I might do on the, because it needs to be like a darker type fabric, so I might do that on the baked clay because I think the design calls for a 35 count. But otherwise I'd ordered, you know, I've got the fabrics I've got coming from the UK. I bought a whole range of different, some other Fox and Rabbit fabrics, a few of these in different counts, and then I have got some sort of, is it fibre on a whim, just fabrics that we can't readily get available in New Zealand. There is, if you're in New Zealand, there is Ribbon Rose, who are my sort of local needlework store. They do have Fox and Rabbit fabrics now in, and they've got the full range in, I think, most of the linen counts, but also the Ada as well. I was planning on going there this morning before my cross-stitching meetup, but after my shopping this week, I decided that I can hold off and maybe go there maybe another weekend, because yeah, I think I've used the craft budget, post-holiday budget carefully. So that is, oh, lastly, I was just going to do a couple of shout outs to some channels. So I did manage to catch up on quite a few Flosstubes while I was away. I was mainly watching them on my, I downloaded for the month the YouTube Premium, so I could download the videos to watch offline, so I could watch them when we were traveling. So I haven't left a whole lot of, I normally like to leave a comment on a video. I haven't left a whole lot of comments. because most of the time I wasn't connected to the internet. But there's a couple of, well, there's 2 videos I want to do a shout out to that are sort of new to me videos while I've been away. Maybe not new to you, but although thought they, yeah, both fantastic new Flosstubers that I'll add to my rotation. One is so Judy. So Judy is another New Zealand based stitcher. Her Flosstube channel, or her YouTube channel, is called An Aussie in a Kiwi World. She's released 2 videos so far. Her second video is a whip parade, and she has got, I think she said she has, I think in the whip parade she shows 50 whips that she has on the go. She does some beautiful stitching, like a whole range of different designs and different projects. She has, I think she must use like Pattern Keeper, one of those programs, because she has an amazing sort of the stats on how many stitches she does, and she's involved in a few of the different sort of challenge groups that are out there. We are set to do a sort of number of stitches per month or on a project during the year. So it's really interesting hearing how many stitches she does. I don't use Pattern Keeper or any of those sort of softwares. I just have my PDF on my phone and mark it off with the pen on the program. So I've got no idea how many stitches I do, but it's really cool to hear what she's been up to. I believe she is, I think she is, I'm not sure if she's Auckland based in my city, but I know that she is either around Auckland. I believe she might be attending one of the South Auckland meetups, so I might try and head along to that at the end of the month so I can hopefully meet Judy and say hello in person. But yeah, fantastic stitching, definitely worth checking it out, and always amazing and great to see another, I mean, although I assume she's from Australia and New Zealand, but it's great to see another New Zealand Flosstuber. We'll count you as a New Zealand Flosstuber in the mix as well. So then the other new Flosstuber to me that I have watched while being away was Sarah from Sarah's Stitchy Spot. You may have already come across her at this stage. I think she's got quite a few subscribers already, and I think she's had quite a following for some time on Instagram and finally got the push to get into Flosstube. She again stitches on some really beautiful projects. She is, I quite liked in her last video, she's a retired doctor, and she got asked a question by one of her subscribers or one of her viewers about you know, some symptoms of needing to be around like her stitching fabrics and what that means, etc. for a while. And Sarah did confirm, and I just noted here, she said that she confirmed that stitching and having all our stitching items around us, so whether if you're not stitching but you like having your scissors and your fabrics and threads and organizing and you know, just looking at those, then it does keep us younger, and it lets us stitch all the things we want to stitch because we've got the sort of the fountain of life and we can get all that stitching done. So definitely worth checking out Sarah as well, and it's also now being confirmed by a retired, you know, a doctor or someone of expert opinion that, you know, stitching does keep us younger. So definitely it's a lesson that we probably already knew, but now it's been confirmed, so we can go from there. But otherwise, that's all from me today. So I'll be back in 2 or 3 weeks' time. Again, if you'd like to enter to win the project bag, details below, just leave that the word bird somewhere in your comments so I can use that to draw a winner. And look forward to seeing you next time. See ya. Bye.